Hello, Joy. I'm delighted to be chatting with a fellow author, creator of the D.I. Bernadette trilogy, myself and Steve here.
Nice to see you both.
Hi, Joy. Good to meet you, make your acquaintance finally. Terry's told me bits and pieces about you. So, what's it like in London where you are tonight? Is it gusty and breezy like it is on the northwest, or?
It has been quite windy today. It's been nice and sunny, but cold, and my hair has not loved the wind. It's been wind dry today. I'd watched it, especially thinking, oh, I have nice curls for you. And I went out this morning, and then I come back going, oh dear, that's not so good.
Oh,
So yeah,
winter
yeah, it
Okay.
has
sweat.
been quite windy.
Yeah, it has here, to be honest. We had a couple of sunny days, though. It's been really quite, you look out your window, it's deceptive. It looks really lovely. And when you go
Mm,
out, it's still a bit chilly.
yeah,
Anyway, yeah.
yeah,
So
freezing
moving
cold.
on onto your website, there's a section dedicated to murder in Merton. That's wasn't quite expecting to talk about that, but tell us about that then.
Okay, well, let's just make this very clear. It's Murder in Merton, little dash, crime writing events.
Ah,
And I always make, and that's part of my logo as well,
yeah.
because we need to make sure that I get the right type of people coming, because else I may have people expecting us to go on some kind of spree across Merton, and that's not the case. We're here to talk about crime writing, crime books, and crime writing, and do some and listen to some authors and all that kind of thing. And so I've done. I sort of started it last year, and we've had things like we've had an authors fair at my local library where readers and authors could sit and chat and buy books and get the books signed and all that sort of thing. And I've done some work with Wimbledon Book Fest as well. And I've done, what did I do? I did three things for them last year. I interviewed how many authors do I have? Three authors at Wimbledon Library. And then we also did an introduction to crime writing, which I did with another author called Beaver Pierce. And I interviewed Janice Hallett for them in the Wimbledon Book Fest and their literary festival last October. And I've also now just started a writing group at my local library. So that's just sort of been going a couple of months.
Makes a
Excellent.
lot
Yeah.
of sense that now we know where it is.
Those, yeah, indeed, yeah. Joy, as well as the murder in Merton, in the past, you were involved with the Facebook group, the First Monday Crime, plus a
Yeah.
YouTube channel, and plus you've just been telling us the Friends of West Barnes Library, Motspur
Yeah.
Park. Plus, you
Yeah.
also interview fellow writers. Do you have any time
Yeah.
off or any hobbies apart from literary activities?
Yeah, I do a bit. I mean, the things I do most are actually at my local library with the Friends of West Barnes Library. Everyone gets very confused because they go, "Oh yeah, West Barnes. It must be near Barnes." I'm like, "No, it's nowhere near Barnes. It's a completely very weird place because nobody actually calls it West Barnes. We all call it Motspur Park because that's the name of the station." And a few author talks. Well, I say a few author talks. I've looked up. We've had 30 authors in. We started in 2018
Yeah.
doing some author events, and yeah, we've had 30 authors come in. But I do other things, not a huge amount. I've got three kids to look after and husband, and but I do like going to cinema and the theatre. And I've just joined a choir back in January. I was in one before lockdown,
Yeah.
but then everything kind of stopped, and it was just like no, I wasn't going to go back straight away. And this is a brand new choir, and so I thought I'd go and try that out. So yeah, I
Okay.
do other things,
Very busy.
just not a lot.
Focus anyway. What are we able to talk about was your D.I. Bernadette Noel trilogy.
Yeah,
It's a crime drama, and there's the three books, and Left for Dead does the series end with the third novel, or is there any more planned? I mean, you've had obviously the trilogy, but is that it, or is there anything else in the pipeline?
there is something else in the pipeline. It's slightly complicated because my contract has ended with my publisher, and they didn't actually want any more.
Oh,
But nearly all my reviews on Amazon, virtually all of them are going, can't wait for book four, can't wait for book
yeah,
four.
excellent reviews.
And yeah, so it's just one of those things of, well, I did actually write a different book in between, which was no. So I have actually written book four. I'm going to tell you a bit more about that in a moment. But I will be self-publishing it,
Okay.
which I'm
Oh,
finding
right,
is
okay.
really, really tricky. But that's, I'm learning every day. But let me tell you a bit about Bernie first. So although does say Bernadette, I think that they've put that there to show that she is female, whereas I always call her Bernie. For me, she's always been Bernie. And so she is dual heritage. So her had a white teenage mother and a black teenage father. She's never known her father at all. She's been raised in a white family, essentially. And one of the things for me that was really, really important about having a diverse character was that I should actually get this right. So to begin with, I had it the other way around, that her family were black. Her mother was black, and everyone said to me, this isn't working, she doesn't sound black, you should just make her white. And I ummed and ahed that, but I thought, no, I really feel that she should be dual heritage. So I spoke to a friend of mine who's dual heritage, and I said, can you help me at all? I've got to get this right and be authentic. And she just said, I don't think I can, because my mother's white, and basically I've been brought up white. Now, at that point, light bulb. Of course, she doesn't sound black because she's been brought up white. And so for me, I've tried to get that across and to be really careful about it, because I'm really aware that I'm a white author writing a dual heritage character. And that's important, to be authentic and to get it correct and right. And so that's what I've done. So hopefully it comes across that she's not quite up to score and what it's like to be black. So because she's not had that influence, she's not had her father's influence or his family's influence, but there are things that are going to happen to her over the course of the book, sort of thing, where she sort of comes to terms a bit more with that part of her as a person. So that's sort of her early life kind of thing. But I have her as joining the Met when she's about 19. So she's at the Met to begin with as, just on the beat, and then becomes a detective constable. And her first thing that she does as detective constable is what's going to feature in book 4, because we're going to be going back, because we know from book 1 and book 3 that something very wrong happened when she was in the Met. But I won't tell you about that, so no, because that gives it away. And for that reason, she does end up in Wiltshire, but before that, she's done the fast track and the Met to become a DI. So when we meet her in Wiltshire, she's fairly new in Wiltshire. She's only been there a few months. She's now a very new detective inspector. It only takes 2 years when you do the fast track. So she's a little unsure of herself. She's in a completely different place culturally. She's gone from being in sort of the middle of London to suddenly being in sort of fairly sort of ruralish area of Wiltshire, and it throws her a little bit. It takes her time to sort of find her feet. And so she's there, and she's got a team. Some of them are new as well to the area. So I have DS Terry Allen, who is from Manchester originally, and she's basically Bernie's right-hand woman. And then to throw into the mix, someone new comes into this team that she's been putting together. And he is DS Dougie Anderson, and he's come from Scotland, from Glasgow. And he's been kind of kicked out of Police Scotland for a reason, and Wiltshire have grudgingly taken him in. So there's a little bit of antagonism there between the two of them. So a little bit of stuff that's going to happen between them over the 3 books that happens with them personally, as well as crimes. So we have all the, kidnaps and murders and everything else, but we also have Bernie's life sort of interweaving in that, and also what's happened to her in the past. So there's a lot going on, and it's all from Bernie's point of view. So when I talk about the fact that I want to be careful about writing her, I've written her in 3rd person. Yeah. So I'm not putting myself into her in her head. So that's one way of keeping that little bit of a distance and still making sure that I can make her authentic. So yeah.
So Wiltshire's in for a bit of a shock then, with 3 diverse characters, Manchester, Scotland and London, and one of them being black, and probably in the area of Wiltshire where there isn't many black people, I would guess, reading between the lines. Yeah. That was one of the things I noticed when I
Well, it depends where you go. So in Swindon, it's a little bit, there's a bit more
Yeah.
sort of different ethnic minorities and stuff. But if you, in Devizes, which is where police headquarters is, it is very white area. And so with the first book, which is Last Seen, we have a little girl that's been kidnapped and been abducted from a playground. And when Bernie first goes out to try and knock on doors and find out what's going on, she's finding the doors are being sort of slammed in her face, kind of thing. And she's thinking, is that because of who I am? You know, is it the colour of my skin? Are people objecting to that? And actually, it's not. It turns out it's to do with the little girl's family. And so that's one of the main sort of things is, I mean, it's an absolute trope to always have a child abducted from a playground. But in this instance, it's not often that a village won't come out and look for that child. And that's what happens. And Bernie has to find out why.
Yeah, and she's got the challenge of, is it my colour or is it, the situation, of course.
Yeah.
I believe it was nominated for an award too, the Dead Good Reader Awards. Is that for the trilogy, is it?
Yeah, so that was for as I said there, it was the New Kid on the Block Award for Best New Series. It was a bit of a shock, actually, to be nominated to be in the final six, because it's a public vote. I very sadly lost to a completely unknown author called Richard Osman.
Unknown. Was there a countdown for that?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was either going to be him or Val McDermott, because they were both in for that, because they
That's wrong.
new series as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, I went with full of hope.
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, no, none of us had a chance. The rest of us were all going, I don't know why we're all here. He's going to do it. He wasn't even there to pick up the award. He wasn't there. So,
oh dear.
it's just one of those things.
Never mind. It's given us a fantastic introduction to all the books there. Really have.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can tell you a little bit more about Bernie 4 if you would like an exclusive.
Yes, certainly would.
Because I haven't announced anywhere, and I've told a few friends kind of thing, but I haven't announced anywhere on any social media or anything, the name or the blurb. I can't show you the cover because it's not quite finished. It's almost there. But if you like, I can give you an exclusive. So, all right, I have to pick this up because I have to read it. Where is it here?
Okay.
So, the book is going to be called Rewind. So when DI Bernadette Noel goes back to work after maternity leave, sees a lot happening in her life, she doesn't expect to find a crashed car with a dead driver on her journey in. But a gruesome discovery in the boot of the car turns a road traffic accident into something more sinister and personal for the detective. It isn't long before Bernie is forced to rewind 6 years and confront her failed covert operation in London. But as she relives that failure, can she survive the present danger too?
Excellent.
So there you go. That's what's coming up, hopefully in June. I haven't quite set a date because my book is currently out with the structural editor and I don't know what she's going to come back with. So, and it's supposed to be copy edited and proofread and all that sort of thing. So I'm aiming for June at the moment.
Less than 3 months. Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
That's really must be really excited for that.
Well, yeah, and I think what's interesting is it's actually been, I've suddenly realised now it's like 2 years since what was it, Left Dead? Left Dead came out. That was the last one. So I had Last Seen out in March 21 and Broken Girls was July 21 because I'd written all the books beforehand before I got the deal. And then Left 4 Dead was January 22. And so it's just been like I don't think it's too much of a, well, if people haven't read the books at all, but Bernie is left pregnant at the end of Left 4 Dead. So she's just had like the longest pregnancy ever by having this gap, except it won't be, it'll be,
of course,
that's a normal thing. But but actually when I came to write it, because I decided last summer, once I knew that it definitely wasn't going to be anymore with Bookouture, and my agent said, what do you want to do? And I said, I just want to write Bernie 4. And she said, well, just do it. Get out of your head and then you can write something else for me. So I wrote it really fast. I've never written a book this quickly. I started in August and I'd finished the first draft by beginning of December.
That is quick.
And normally Normally it takes me much longer, but it was all plot and dialogue, very little description. So I had to go back and fill that in a bit. But it was all, because it's lived in my head for such a long time, it was just, okay, let's just get it out there. So it was quite cathartic to write it as well, because I just knew that I had to do this. I had to confront, go back to what this issue was in London that had caused her to, eventually to leave and everything else. And we get a lot more of it in book 3 in Left for Dead, but not all of it. So now we're going to find out, because we're going to be going back in the past, to find out what happened. So it's been quite a different book to write as well, because I normally have kept it very linear in time, and it's always been in the present. So to go back has been interesting, to try a different writing technique. But that's what we've got coming up.
Excellent. So, excellent. Just a word on the genre. This is crime, police procedurals. Well, why so? Is this because it's your favourite reading genre, criminal procedure?
I do love reading it. I mean, I do read quite widely within crime, and I also really like reading historical novels as well, and sometimes memoirs, not always, but sometimes. Yeah, I've always loved sort of reading it, but I think more than anything, it's come from watching TV police dramas from quite a young age. When I was sort of working it out, probably from the age of 9, when I started watching Juliet Bravo, because my mum was watching it, so I watched it as well. And it was one that you could get away with letting kids watch thing. And then all the way through the 80s, sort of Cagney and Lacey and Hill Street Blues and Quincy, Columbo, The Bill, Morse, Miss Marple. I mean, for me, Joan Hickson is always Miss Marple, no one else. And just sort of all of those really influenced me. And I think also at the time, it wasn't so much police procedural, but I read Virginia Andrews, which I think just probably warped my brain a bit. And a lot of female crime authors have gone, oh yeah, we all read Virginia Andrews in the 1980s, and we were all a bit warped as a result. I mean, so I just love that, and I still love them now. I mean, obviously you've got things like Line of Duty, Broadchurch, Happy Valley. I really love Happy Valley. The Responder. I love The Responder. Tony Schumacher is brilliant. He's a brilliant author as well.
Liverpool writer.
So I was really thrilled to see The Responder come out.
He's working on part 2 for that as well.
Yeah, he's excellent. But my absolute favourite one, and I think the one that gets it right the most in terms of police procedural, is Unforgotten. I was actually watching back. This is going to sound a bit weird. I was watching back my book launch for my debut, because I was thinking, how do I remember any of these things about my books? So I did that earlier, and I'd said on there that Line of Duty was like, it's cooking on gas. It is high drama. It's everything, bang, bang, bang. But that Unforgotten is like cooking on a slow cooker. It's sort of simmering gently, and that tension is just building throughout. And it's just amazing. I really like it. And plus, they do the most important thing. They put their hoods up on their forensic suits, because I mean, I'm not even like a police officer or forensic people, but I know how frustrated they get when they see that and people don't do it. And I get really frustrated. I get so frustrated at Silent Witness. And I'm like, Nikki Alexander, I know your hair's lovely, but put your hood up. You're contaminating the scene. Drives me
mad.
Right.
You're bang on, yeah.
But Unforgotten gets it right. They get all of it right. So yeah, I really, really like Unforgotten.
Okay.
Yeah, I so do I actually. Yeah, but just going back a little bit, Tony Schumacher, didn't we interview him, Terry?
No, he sort of said, wait until after the force dies down, after The Responder. He was getting all of press reports and things.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I need to get back in touch.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Try and get him if you can. As I said, he's a brilliant author.
Novelist as well. He's written 3 other novels.
So I know him from his John Russett novels. Yeah. So I don't think I've read the third one, but I've read the first 2. And they're so good. They're sort of set in in Britain, but just meant to be. It's like an alternative history. What would have happened if the Nazis had actually invaded? Yeah. And they're so clever. It's really good. And I'm thrilled how well The Responder's gone and how well Martin Freeman can actually act. So and do a
He's got a
Liverpool
decent accent
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He's
got spot on.
amazing. He's amazing with his accents. Absolutely incredible. Yeah.
I
So-
know there was a lot of stuff for that.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about the research you do for your writing. Now, Terry tells me that there's a story about a particular lane in Wiltshire.
So what I often start off with doing is looking on a map. So actually for the last scene, what I did to begin with, I actually created 2 fictional villages because of the way that the villages react and everything. I didn't want that to be a real place. But for Broken Girls, which is the second book, that one, we start off with a body that's found in woodland. And so I thought, okay, I actually want the place this time. So I got up Google Maps and was sort of looking through and trying to find something. And oh, it looks quite interesting. And, sort of zoom in a little bit and go, okay, and then go on to Street View. And I discovered that next to the woodland, there's a lane, and the lane leads to a bridge that goes over a railway. And then from that point, there's then a road. You can't really see much of the road, obviously, because and when you do Google Street View, it is like that, isn't it? You just see what's ahead of you.
Yeah.
You don't really see much else. So I wrote it, and then I said to my husband, it'd be really good to go and actually visit and see what it's really like, because then that helps to add to the description and everything else. Now, as I've discovered, and I keep making this mistake actually, it's really not good to take your kids with you on a research trip, because they get really bored and frustrated. They were quite little when we went with this as well. One of them was really quite little. So we found this lane, which I've now since discovered is a private road, so we should never have gone up there. But in the book, I have there's like motorbike racing down this lane in the dark. Well, we turn into this lane to discover onto the road that it's full of potholes. So I've got videos of us trying to drive down here, and my kids are like screaming in the background, and accidentally you go through what you think is a puddle and it's not. And my husband's going, he wasn't quite swearing, but he was getting a bit frustrated, I think. And eventually we get to the bit where we have the bridge over the railway, and then there's a lane, a little alleyway sort of lane from there, which you can't drive up. And my kids refused to get out of the car, so we kind of left them in the car. We're only away for a few minutes, I'd like to point out, and my eldest was probably about 14 at the time. So okay. And so we start walking up, and I sort of, again, I'm still thinking about the motorbikes, and I'm looking down at the ground, and I can see little bits of old brick and this sort of thing. And I can also see some tyre marks, and I'm thinking, okay, that's probably a tractor, because there is a farm on either side of that road. So I'm thinking, okay, that's good. The motorbikes could come up here, that's fine. And then my husband's saying, do you not want to look up around you and see what there is? And I look up, and there's sort of like banks the other side of this lane that are made out of, I guess, a sandstone. And the trees are balancing on the top, looking like they're going to fall down any second. And you can see all their roots coming down. So you can see them all in the sandstone, and it's quite creepy. And then I noticed that one of the trees had a blue rope attached to it. And not far up, a little bit further across from there, was quite a big hole. And I'm thinking, okay, something's going to be hidden in there. So they're going to use the blue rope to get up there. So I'm thinking, okay, these are good ideas, and taking pictures and stuff. And actually, I'm really glad we didn't go up, because again, I've since discovered that there might be bats in there. So it wouldn't have been good if I'd gone up there and stuck my head in. So I've got all the stuff, and I'm taking pictures and videos and probably looking a bit strange. And this woman comes down with her dogs, and my husband is much better at talking to people, and he was like, oh, my wife's writing this book, and she wants to use this in her book, and do you know anything about this area? And she said, oh, you know about the ghosts, don't you? I'm like, no. She said, oh yeah, it's a haunted lane. And then she starts to tell us that there used to be, where the woodland is, there used to be a big house there, and the area is known as Roughton's Folly. And the owner in the sort of 18th century had got a bit drunk at the pub, or very drunk at the pub, and had taken his horse and carriage back down the lane, driving it really fast, and overturned and broke his neck. And he and the horses is now supposed to haunt the lane, sort of thing. So when I went, so I thought, right, this is brilliant. This is all going in the book. And I have Bernie meeting a dog walker, this woman who tells us this story, and it's sort of getting darker. And I have it that I found out that when this happened, so I looked it up, and it was like a Sunday. So I have it that it's on a Sunday night. This so, and it's now Sunday night, and it's getting darker. And Bernie's like, oh, what's going on? But I also found out that this area is known as Roughton's Folly, but it's also known as Maggot's Wood, which is incredibly appropriate for the beginning of my book when they find the body in the woodland. I won't say anything more than that, but you can probably guess what they find with that body. So it's just, things like this, when you find out stuff like that, it's like, this has to go in, you can't ignore it. Yeah. And it's sort of like a probably fairly well-known story in that area. So if anyone from that area reads it, they'll be like, oh yes, I know that. So it's just things like that just help to make it authentic.
Okay.
And I also have throughout all the books, Bernie's a big fan of the bakery, and there is a bakery, I don't name it, but there is a bakery in Devizes that I use. And we've been in and tasted their food, so I know it's really good. And so I mentioned the fact that they have these giant donuts, which they do, these massive donuts like this size. And I remember when we went to see that this kid was saying, oh, it's as big as a face. It's like, that's going in the book. It's just things like that people will be like, oh, yeah, we know that bakery.
Yeah, that's the
so little things like that. Yeah, helps huge with the authenticity. Yeah, really does.
Research is absolutely critical, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Joy, just moving on a bit. All of your books, they got we mentioned this earlier, some terrific reviews. A lot of them from fellow writers. I know all reviews are valuable, but to get praise from your peers, fellow writers, in my mind, is this more especially welcome?
Yeah, I think it is. It's great because they know what you've gone through.
Yeah.
And we don't all sit in splendid isolation, typing what we do sometimes. When we get together at literary events and book launches and just different things, we all get to chat. And when there's some good groups and stuff that I'm in, that we might meet up and tell all our woes and stuff like that. I suppose it's really good, when you get that. But I actually think sounds awful to say I prefer readers' reviews, but the reason I say that is because those people don't know me at all.
Yeah,
they've got no reason to necessarily a good review. Well, actually, say that some of them might know me, but so often the ones that I really love, the ones I'm like, well, I've got no idea who you are, and they've just said how much they enjoy the books.
Okay.
And that for me is high praise, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, you get those that don't like it and decide to tell you anyway. They don't actually have to tell us.
It makes the others more authentic, though. Really, I think you get that balance.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So, how did you connect with your original publisher, which you're obviously going to think about using again? How do you pronounce it? Bookouture.
Yeah, Bookouture.
Yeah, was that through your agent? Was it literary agent Anne Williams?
No, I have a bit of a story to tell on this one. So I actually started writing, going to writing class in 1999, which is where my 1998 thing came from earlier. So I've been sort of writing for a long time, and it wasn't really until after I had my third child and I got going. In fact, I started writing Bernie in 2014, the very first book. So I've been then trying to get an agent and just not happening. And then we got to lockdown in 2020, and I thought, okay, let's just try again. I'd had the book edited professionally by a lady called Sarah Starbuck, who is currently book 4 for me as well. And I thought, agents are sitting around doing nothing, maybe they'd like to read. And so I was trying, and again, still nothing. And we got to June, and there was PitMad on Twitter. It's like a pitch that you put out. You have to, write a little pitch for your book, and you also have to fit in some other sort of hashtags and things. So you're really limited in what you can say. So I thought, you know what? let's just try it again. I've done Twitter pitches before and done quite well, and then I've sent the stuff in and then they've gone no. So I tried it, and within 5 minutes, I'd had a like from an editor at Bookouture. And if you get the little like, that means you can submit. So I contacted them and said, can I submit on Monday? Because it's all a bit, and she said, that's fine. So I did. It ended up going to a different editor because I then found out that the previous one was going to be moving on. And I, at the same time, was still sending out to agents, and I had sent to Anne. So I emailed her and said, just to let you know, by the way, Bookouture are quite interested, but just left it at that. And she wrote back and said, well, I was going to email you. I would like the full manuscript, please. Went, okay. So sent it off to her. And it all kind of happened together. They kind of weaved in and out of each other as to who was doing stuff. And it ended up being that the editor, who absolutely loved it, said, I'm going on holiday. We'll talk when I get back. And in the meantime, Anne came and said to me, okay, I really, really like this. And I'm there thinking, is that just because I potentially got a deal? And I had a whole list of questions ready to ask her, and she answered all of them before I even asked them. She told me exactly what she would do if Bookouture said no, and listed all the people that she would send it to. And I'm there going, okay, you actually do want me. It's not because there's a possible deal.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
So, and she's been such a huge, massive support for me ever since. I wouldn't be without her at all. And so, yeah, so it kind of, you know, in the state of 6 weeks, I had an agent and 3-book deal.
That's brilliant.
Having tried for years and years and years and years.
That's excellent.
So
news.
sometimes
Amazing.
it just happens.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
it. We'd love to hear that.
Finally, then, from me, yeah, because I've just realised what time it is. That's flown by this.
Yeah.
What advice do you give to someone who's going to write a book for the first time?
Right, because you can't edit a blank page.
Yep.
I know that sounds a bit, I don't know, a bit rude,
spot
whatever,
on.
but
No, I totally agree.
if you don't write anything, you can't get anywhere. And it doesn't matter if it's completely rubbish, because that's what editing's about. It's not about getting it right first time. And I've had years and years and years of writing short stories, attempting poetry. I'm really bad at it. Attempting radio plays. This is all stuff I did in the writing class that I went to. And then eventually started turning it into, trying more and trying novels. And, the very, very first book I ever wrote, which featured Bernie as a side character, that's never going to be coming out. That it's called Unearthed, but it's staying buried because it's not good enough. And that's the thing, you have to try things that aren't good enough, and that's fine, because you don't learn. So there we go. Let's try it and see what happens.
Excellent advice.
A lot of people do say similar to that in a roundabout way, just throw it all down on paper. It doesn't matter what it sounds like. You worry about it later. Edit it and so on.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
That's Joy. I think time's caught up with us. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure chatting with you too.
And maybe a future
really
one
fast.
when the self-published, when the next novel comes out.
Definitely.
Excellent.
Absolutely. I'd love to come back.
Oh, brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah.